Hey, this is Tom from MVP Chess. Welcome back to my series on Bobby Fischer's seminal work, My 60 Memorable Games. In this video, we'll be analyzing game number 35 that Fischer played versus Bolbochan in Stockholm, 1962. Fischer won the Brilliancy Prize in the tournament for this game. You're not going to want to miss it. Before we jump in, don't forget, smash that subscribe button and join Team MVP. Thank you so much for your support. Julio Bolbochan. So he was a master from Argentina. He was two-time Argentine champion. His fellow countryman, Miguel Najdorf, of course, popularized Fischer's beloved Sicilian Najdorf variation. So Bolbochan, of course, was inspired by Najdorf and played the opening himself. So how would Fischer respond to his beloved opening? Let's find out. Of course, Fischer, with the white pieces, plays e4, best by test. And Bolbochan goes for c5, the Sicilian. Open Sicilian on the board, and after knight f6, knight c3, we have pawn to a6, the Najdorf variation. So white has a lot of options here. Fischer's favorite variation against the Najdorf and many variations of the Sicilian defense was to play bishop c4. He won countless games with this move. Perhaps he thought Bolbochan would be prepared for this line, so he played pawn to h3. And Fischer's idea with this is to expand on the king side, and he justifies that black's loss of tempo with pawn to a6 justifies this pawn move on the side of the board. This is a very dangerous attacking option for white. So if you're looking for a line against the Najdorf that's a little less theoretical, pawn to h3 would be a good one to explore. So after knight c6, Fischer expands, pawn to g4, knight takes, queen takes, and pawn to e5. So Bolbochan plays the classic Najdorf move, pawn to e5. Fischer retreats the queen, and already here, Bolbochan makes an inaccuracy. He plays bishop to e7. It would have been much better for him to play bishop to e6 first. And we'll see why in just a second, because Fischer can expand on the king side, g4 kicking the knight back to d7. And now you see this knight retreat interferes with the development of the queen's bishop. So it's these little positional inaccuracies that Fischer accumulates, and before you know it, he just has a winning position. Fischer continues with development, bishop e3, and Bolbochan plays knight to c5 here. You're probably asking yourself, what happens if Bolbochan were to take this pawn? Well, Fischer could capture, and now the d6 pawn is en prise. The queen would retreat, and we would have this fairly forced line where after g6, Fischer would have a small but definitely solid endgame advantage. He's got this great knight on d5. He's ahead in development, so Fischer would be looking pretty good in this endgame. Bolbochan went for knight c5 instead, so Fischer just dropped the queen back. And after bishop e6, both sides castle. Pawn to f3. Rook to c8, a key move in almost every variation in the open Sicilian for black, bringing the rook to this half-opened c-file. And Fischer makes a very instructive move, king b1. He takes time in the book to say that amateurs are often perplexed by this move, but he says this gets the king off the dangerous c-file, and that you never know. I like this line. You never know when lightning is going to strike. So king b1, always a great move to play when you castle to the queen side with white. Now, Bolbochan's knight on c5 really doesn't have a future here. So he decides to reroute it, knight d7, and Fischer gets on with his kingside pawn storm. Of course, both kings are on opposite sides, so each side should be trying to start a pawn storm to checkmate the enemy king. That's the strategy to go for in these opposite sides, castling Sicilian positions. So that's why Bolbochan plays b5 himself. Bishop h3. Fischer looks to trade off this chunky bishop on e6. His bishop on f1 wasn't doing much. Bolbochan captures and knight b6. I will turn it over to you for the first time in this position. White to play. What did Fischer play in this position to get an almost strategically won position? Pause your videos and have a think. So congratulations if you found bishop takes b6. Awesome move. With the idea of establishing an eternal knight on d5. This is a classic example of a good knight versus a bad bishop position. This knight on d5 has a wonderful outpost. Black can't chase it away. This bishop on e7 is very passive, hemmed in by its own pawns. White is basically strategically winning in this position. So Fischer continues here with pawn to f4. Okay. Fischer notes that some spectators and even journalists criticize this move. Why didn't you go for the rook and pawn ending? But Fischer correctly states that if white were to grab this pawn, rook d8 would just be losing. Okay. Notice there's a back rank problem in white's position. So that's why Fischer pushed on with f4. It's the more principled move anyway. He doesn't want to, even if he could, really transition to a rook and pawn ending where, who knows, maybe black would have some drawing chances. He's got a great attacking position. So definitely want to keep your initiative and push forward. Bolbochan captures, and after queen d7, Fischer plays a nice move here, queen f5. Probably asking yourself, why would Fischer offer a queen exchange in this position? He's the one attacking. Well, of course, it's justified tactically because if Bolbochan were to take the queen on f5, Fischer would have a royal fork on e7. So the queen is immune. Fischer just brought it to this really active square on f5. Rook a3. Fischer notes that his position is so dominating in this position that he has the luxury of pivoting back and forth between the king side and the queen side, probing for weaknesses. Bolbochan defends this pawn, and Fischer continues to probe on the queen side, menacing rook c7. So after g6, queen g4, queen d7, Fischer, of course, in this position does not want to exchange queens. So he avoids the queen exchange, queen f3, queen e6, and now Fischer's rook has finally landed on the 7th rank. So this is a very dangerous position for black already. Rook d8 defending the bishop, knight f4, queen e5, rook d5, and look where Bolbochan's queen ends up, on h8. It's basically in jail in this position. And with Fischer's next move, he evoked shades of Nimzovich's immortal Zugzwang game with this next move. Pawn to a3. Just creating luft for the king. There's no back rank issues. Basically saying, go ahead, black, find a move. So all Bolbochan can do in this position, really, is to try to extricate the queen, get some activity for Her Majesty. She can't just sit on jail on the h8 square. In jail, I should say, on the h8 square. So Fischer grabs, and after queen takes h6, a great attacking move by Fischer in this position, pawn to h5. Of course, what he's trying to do right now is to pry open the king, open lines so that he can attack in brilliant style. And after bishop g5, I will turn it over to you one more time. White to play in this position. Fischer's knight is on prise right now. It's being attacked twice. Does he need to move it, or does he have a better continuation? Pause your videos and have a think. So congratulations if you realized Fischer does not need to move the knight. Of course, just like Morphy, Fischer always looked for forcing attacking moves before retreating. He played H takes G6. Boom, what a move. With the justification being that if black were to take this knight, Fischer could grab here, exchange rooks, and after rook h5, the queen cannot maintain defense of this bishop. Notice if the queen were to come to f6, rook f5 would win the piece. Black's king is wide open. Fischer would be up material to boot. Completely winning position. That's why Bolbochan was forced to take on g6. And then Fischer called this next move the coup de grace, queen b3. Again, another move that evokes memories of Morphy's games. I mean, you can even remember this queen b3 move from the Opera game. Great lateral queen move, bringing the queen to b3 and attacking black on these weakened light squares, especially the a2, g8 diagonal. Awesome move from Fischer. Bolbochan takes the rook out of desperation, but after rook e5, discovered check, nice move by Fischer, king f8, and rook takes e8, Bolbochan resigned. So why did he resign in this position? Well, he saw the writing on the wall. After king takes e8, queen e6, king f8, and queen c8, black's king is cooked on the back rank. We have a classic ladder checkmate. So we'll leave the final position on the board, rook takes e8. What a victory by Fischer. It's always really difficult, at least for me, to face your own openings, your own favorite openings. I'm sure Bolbochan had some opening preparation cooked up for Fischer's favorite move, bishop c4. So nice job deviating by playing h3 and taking Bolbochan out of book. Clearly, Fischer knew this line much better than Bolbochan. His problems really started with that inaccuracy in the opening, playing bishop e7. Let's go back to that in this position and not developing this light squared bishop. His pieces got very congested, and Fischer just accumulated an advantage out of the opening that he just rode to victory. Awesome win. Other thing to remember about this game is this classic, after bishop takes b6, queen takes b6, knight d5, the classic good knight versus bad bishop. Fischer in the Sicilian very often was able to get this positional advantage, and with play on both wings, including this tailor-made pawn storm on the king side, you can see why Fischer won the brilliancy prize for this game and finish it off in great style. So I hope you enjoyed this analysis. Don't forget, smash that subscribe button. Join Team MVP. Whoops, lost the board there. There we go. Smash that subscribe button. Join Team MVP. You're not going to want to miss my next installment in the series, which is game number 36. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.